Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Staying on that same order of business, I ask that you recognize the gentleman from Morgan for motion on House Bill 1625.
Gentleman from Morgan, for what purpose do you rise?
I move that House Bill 1625 be ordered, perfected, and printed.
The gentleman from Morgan has moved for the perfection and printing of House Bill 1625. Gentleman from Morgan.
I move the title of House Bill 1625 be agreed to.
The gentleman from Morgan has moved for the adoption of the title. Is there discussion on the title? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the ayes have you adopted the title. Gentleman from Morgan.
Mr. Speaker, this is our drug trafficking and fentanyl bill that we have heard before. I could actually speak on this for many minutes today. However, we have actually vetted this many years previously. It's passed the last several years in 2024 by a vote of 108 to 25, and last year it passed out of this very House with a vote of 132 to 8 with 10 people voting present. And so I just want to mention a few things about it, and I'll keep it fairly simple. Sometimes contaminants, like poisons in food, or if you distribute a product that could easily kill somebody, anybody that does that, we hold them accountable. Distributing fentanyl presents a similar level of danger, yet the legal consequences do not fully reflect that risk. Increasing the legal consequences raises the stakes for those who might consider entering this trade. Finally, increasing penalties help law enforcement target the larger networks responsible for bringing fentanyl into our communities. Tougher charges can provide prosecutors with the tools needed to dismantle organized trafficking operations and hold high-level distributors accountable. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will answer any questions.
Discussion on House Bill 1625. Gentleman from Pettis, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to offer an amendment.
Proceed, sir.
I have an amendment, .01H. It has been distributed. I move for its adoption.
The gentleman from Pettis has moved for adoption of House Amendment 1. Gentleman from Pettis.
This amendment takes out knowingly such subject is mixed with another controlled substance, takes that out of the bill. This summer, the lady from Barton and I were down in Cedar County, and we met some folks that had lost loved ones from fentanyl overdoses, and they were telling us the hardest part about getting people tried and getting people connected with what should happen if they lose a loved one had to do with it was almost impossible for a prosecutor to prove that somebody knowingly had that subject in that illegal substance. And so what we're doing is we're taking this out. This went through crime and punishment safety, crime and public safety. It came out 17-0 on another bill, and then it went back in because there were some issues with that bill, and it came out on its own on 14-0. So with that, I ask for questions, or I'll renew my motion.
Discussion on House Amendment 1. Gentleman from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I give my full support to this amendment. I hope my colleagues will support it.
Further discussion. Gentleman from Jackson, for what purpose do you rise?
To inquire of the amendment maker.
Does the gentleman from Pettis yield?
I do.
You may proceed.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Doing all right. So on your amendment, if I believe this was your House bill that you presented to the same Crime and Public Safety Committee?
Yes, sir. Word for word.
Okay, word for word. Okay. And again, your reasoning for this is going to help prosecutors, in your opinion, to be able to prosecute against some of these bad actors?
Well, I'm not the smartest duck in this pond right here, but I'm smart enough to tell my person that I am representing to not admit you knowingly know that there was a substance in that pill that was going to kill somebody. And I think that's what's happened a lot of times. That's the first advice they may get is don't you ever acknowledge that you knew that that substance was in there. And without being able to prove that, then they can't be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Well, in Kansas City, we have so many overdoses from fentanyl and carfentanil that I understand the urgency on wanting to do this. Anytime that we're taking out knowingly, sometimes you might have folks that might think this could be weaponized against certain people. But on face value, I think I do support your amendment. I was in favor of your bill. I'll be in favor of the amendment today.
Thank you.
Further discussion on House Amendment 1. Gentleman from St. Louis. For what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To speak on the underlying amendment.
Proceed.
Echoing the sentiments of my colleague from the Sharp District, we did hear this in crime prevention. It is a necessary bill. Prosecutors are basically, their hands are tied given the fact that the knowing element is hard to prove in some circumstances. This will alleviate that and make it easier to prosecute. I urge the body to vote yes. Thank you.
Further discussion on House Amendment 1. Gentleman from St. Louis County, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To inquire the gentleman from the Pollitt District.
Does the gentleman from Pettis yield?
I do.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How you doing, gentlemen?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. I like the idea of where you're going with it. I just want to make it clear, though, that there are times where, from my understanding, fentanyl is put in things like marijuana. And so that's kind of my concern, is that you might have like a low-level person just selling marijuana, which can be used for medicinal purposes, and not knowingly, know that there is fentanyl in there. And so that's where I'm a little hung up. Has that been addressed in any of the committee hearings?
No, I will say that if a lower level drug dealer's selling marijuana, he's selling it, or she's selling it illegally, since it's legal in the state of Missouri.
I understand that.
So, again, I guess I have limited sympathy for people who sell drugs illegally, and then somebody dies from it.
Yeah.
I have more sympathy goes to the parents of even some of these kids and younger adults, or even older adults, that get hooked on drugs. It's something that's just taken over their life, and I think that we've got a lot of programs. We're trying to help those folks with those programs, but at the same time, if they sell something and it kills somebody, I think they should be held accountable full extent of the law.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you, gentlemen. I just wanted to bring that up and see if it had been addressed before, but I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion on House Amendment 1. Seeing none. Gentleman from Pettis, you're recognized to close.
I close, sir.
The gentleman from Pettis has renewed his motion for adoption of House Amendment 1. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. And the ayes have, you adopted House Amendment 1. Further discussion on House Bill 1625 as amended. Gentleman from Jackson, for what purpose do you rise?
To inquire of the bill sponsor.
Does the gentleman from Morgan yield?
I do.
You may proceed.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
This is your third or fourth year on this bill, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Actually, the third time that we're getting a chance to take it out to the Senate.
Yes, sir. So just wanted to go back to the nuts and bolts of the bill. To my understanding, this bill doesn't really increase penalties. It just lowers the thresholds for those penalties. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's one way to look at it. So previously, if somebody had 7 or 8, 9 milligrams of fentanyl, that's not a very severe punishment. And so many times those individuals might just get charged with possession and of a controlled substance. And now this lowers it so that they will be charged with a much stiffer offense.
Okay, I guess it just depends on how you want to look at it. But there is one other portion of the bill. So if I understand correctly, right now, fentanyl and carfentanil are pretty much treated the same in the state of Missouri.
They are, and carfentanil is not as common as fentanyl. Sometimes I think we get them confused because of people are familiar with fentanyl, not so much with carfentanil.
Okay. And carfentanil is, what I'm reading here, what, approximately 100 times stronger than
We
fentanyl?
know, yes. Thank you, gentlemen. We know that fentanyl is very bad and it's severe, and just a few granules the size of salt grains could kill somebody. Well, carfentanil is 100 times stronger than that. It's really a very small amount of it could use for like an elephant tranquilizer. So there's no need for anybody to ever get that. And far as I know, it's not used as a prescription for anybody. So it is a synthetic opioid that has no place in our society.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. This bill came out of your... Mr. Speaker, speak on the bill. This bill came out of the Crime and Public Safety Committee with no opposition. This is one of those bills, Mr. Speaker, probably should have passed 2 or 3 years ago. I will ask the body vote yes. Thank you.
Further discussion on House Bill 1625 as amended. Gentleman from Boone, for what purpose do you rise?
To inquire of the sponsor.
Does the gentleman from Morgan yield?
I do.
You may proceed.
Hey, gentlemen.
Evening.
Hi. Good evening. Thank you for bringing the bill. I just have a question, and we talked about this, I guess, last year. Were you the sponsor last year as well? Or?
Yes. Last year I was, and 2 years before, the gentleman from Jefferson and I both had the bill.
Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to just clarify, and the representative from the Sharp District mentioned it, is it's lowering thresholds. So for fentanyl, which obviously is an epidemic, is a problem, and it's killing way too many people, it's 0.20 milligrams. This takes it down to like, what, 0.14, I believe, or 0.15 for an A felony. Did I read that correctly?
It's between 3 milligram and 10 milligram. And then, let me look at it here quickly.
I think it's 14
And then
milligrams.
above 14, yes.
Yeah, I think it's an A felony is 14 milligrams.
Yes.
And previously, I think it was 20.
Correct. That is correct.
And that does include, though, mixtures. So it's not just pure fentanyl. It's if it's mixed with something else.
Correct.
And it ends up being or it ends up being 14 or more.
Yes.
And that's my only concern, gentlemen, is that that's one of the issues with fentanyl is it's always mixed with something. Not always, but it's not like someone necessarily has a pound of fentanyl in their trunk. It could be mixed with cocaine or some other drug, which is a problem, and that's a problem we've got right now in our society. And it's just the range. And when you're taking up to an A felony, that's up to life in prison.
If I may?
Yeah, sure, please.
If it would be used as a prescription for medical usage, a prescription of fentanyl might be 25 to 50 micrograms, which is a thousandth of a gram. And so just a very small portion of a gram would be what they'd use for medical use. And so this is much, much more greater than that. And we want to deter people from having any of it at all, and no need for it to ever be placed in any other substances.
Oh, absolutely. I'm 100% on board with you, and we need to get a hold of this epidemic. I agree. My concern is that because it's not, usually people don't possess just a pure amount of it. It is with other things, and that goes into the weight. So if you have, say, 1 milligram of fentanyl, that's my understanding. I could be wrong.
Well, and the way it's written, it says more than 3 but less than 14 milligrams of fentanyl. So it doesn't say of a substance containing fentanyl. So I guess I might interpret it a little differently than you after all.
But I think the general criminal statutes, and I could be wrong, it talks about if there's any mixture of it. And that's for any substance. So for cocaine, crack, whatever, it's not just you have to have that much in there, THC, because it's difficult to parcel out what's what when it goes to like the highway lab. That's my understanding, but like I said,
I understand.
I could be wrong. So that's one of my concerns. I understand what you're getting at, which I think is fantastic. I think we need to get this off of the streets because people are dying left and right. It is a huge problem. But my concern is because it's the weight of the total substance. So somebody could have 2 milligrams of fentanyl, but it's mixed in with cocaine. The weight is going to be the entirety of the substance, not just the fentanyl amount. And I know you said it's written a certain way, but I think that's the way it's charged. And
this starts out at 3 milligram, but less than 14.
Right. So 3. So 3 milligrams, but it's going to be the total weight of the substance. So something could weigh 20 milligrams, 50 milligrams, and have 3 milligrams of fentanyl, but they're going to get catch the A felony because of that, which is a life sentence. So that's a little bit of my concern about this gentleman. But I appreciate you bringing the bill, and we definitely need to address it. It's just, because all this is usually just mixed in with other substances, and it's a total weight. But I appreciate you bringing it.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none. Gentleman from Morgan, you're recognized to close.
I renew my motion.
The gentleman from Morgan has renewed his motion for the perfection bringing of House Bill 1625 as amended. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. And the ayes have it. You've ordered House Bill 1625 as amended, perfected, and printed.